ex-Ohio court mediator arrested, allegedly sent feces to GOP. So it took a month, but they tracked down the old culprit probably because he gave him a nice little DNA sample every time he committed a crime. I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. This is a serial poop mailer? Oh, I didn't catch that detail.
History is riddled with unexplained events. You can turn back now or learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
This comes from AP News, written by Samantha Hendrickson. Title of this story is Feces Mailed to Ohio GOP Lawmakers. Post Office Investigates. Well, we've talked about things that have been sent through the mail before on this show. We've talked about ye old Ted Kaczynski, probably the most dangerous of the people and events that we've spoken about when it comes to what happens with our mail and the heroic people that are out there right now delivering it every day. Thank you to everybody out there listening that does that.
Or is doing it now, right? Some of our folks are on deliveries.
That is correct. From Amazon to what? DHL? to everybody.
USPS, FedEx,
Boom.
Your neighborhood corner guy even might make a trip.
Mm-hmm.
Courier,
That's right.
carrier
right.
pigeon, task rabbit.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're dealing with all kinds of strange substances that you are unaware of because they are packaged up all nice and neat. Unless, of course, they smell a little bit like poo-poo. Even then, you might not be aware because it could just be contaminated with fecal matter and not, smell like the full thing. In this story, it discusses how 25 individual state Republican senators in 1 week were sent mail that was contaminated with feces, or feces was specifically mailed within a letter, right? Within an envelope. Here's the deal too. It wasn't like it was some kind of manifesto that was written to each of these individual lawmakers. It was just poop. It wasn't as though there was some point to be made necessarily other than here, this is what I think you should get in the mail.
Whatever happened to carrying your own poop to the doorstep of your enemy and setting it on fire manually? I mean, why do we have to involve these third parties in this? It just seems very inconsiderate.
Innocence, cowards, I say. If you take the flaming poop to your opponent. Also, Matt, before we go on, I just want to answer a question I'm sure a lot of our fellow listeners have, and it's a weird one because I looked into this before we rolled. Actually, I've been excited about this story. It is in the United States entirely legal and not against the law to mail poop, unless you are specifically mailing it to harass people. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
How do you get the motive?
Well, remember, Matt, you did another story a while back that discussed the legality and the way it has to be marked if you're sending like medical specimens that could contain, agents, let's say, or
body parts.
Does this follow? Right. But it also pathogens and things like that. There has to be some labeling if you're going by the book.
Yeah, it becomes dangerous, and I don't know the legality, Ben, about it, but it becomes dangerous if it's unsecured specimen, right? If it's just
loose poop.
Open the thing and there's poop. Yeah, it's not in a container.
Surprise!
That's when it's bad, and that's how the state of Ohio characterized it, right? Because when you send an unsecured sample in this way to the state house, everybody in that state house, or at least the mail receiving area of that state house, or if the mail actually gets to the office of one of the lawmakers, that's when it becomes dangerous, because anyone that opens it, they themselves could become contaminated, maybe even, depending on what it looks like, because we don't have a ton of information. They didn't take any pictures, at least that I've seen, of
what was the shape
how
like?
contaminated the envelope was.
Was the person eating lots of fiber? What was the consistency? Was it ropey? Was it a ropey?
Was there
S?
a water test? Was there a water test? Is it a floater? Is it a plunker? I mean, these are health questions at some point.
I'm just concerned for the
I'm also
well-being of this.
I'm also describing this. I'm titling this part as loose poop. That's going to be the title.
Loose poops, sink scoops. I don't know. Never mind. Moving on.
All right, so I'm going to give you a quote from this original article from John Fortney, Fortney. I honestly don't know how to pronounce it, but he gave this quote. This type of biohazard attack doesn't just stop with the people it's directed towards. This is something that could potentially affect every single employee at the Ohio State House, regardless of their political affiliation. That makes sense. And then moving away from that quote, I'm going to give you a quote from the article. It says, the U.S. Postal Service's law enforcement arm is investigating the matter as a federal crime. A federal crime. Most likely because it was aimed at lawmakers, right? And they also said in this article, it is unknown. They wouldn't comment when this happened on whether it was human or animal waste. That's what they said. So that was early July of this year. Then, you guys, almost exactly a month later, on August 8th, another story came out of the AP, again by Samantha Hendrickson, and this title is, Ex-Ohio Court Mediator Arrested, Allegedly Sent Feces to GOP. So, it took a month, but they tracked down the old culprit probably because he gave him a nice little DNA sample every time he committed a crime. I'm assuming.
Mm-hmm. This is a serial poop mailer? Oh, I didn't catch that detail.
It was 20.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
25,
it's a slippery slope.
Yes, at least
depending on your diet.
Feces.
You know, I'm sorry. I can't not.
Yeah,
these kinds of
I'll just give you here. It was at least 36 feces-filled letters that were sent by this one person, and the person arrested, his name is Richard. I won't give you the full thing just for the sake of this episode. You can look it up if you want to. He is a 77-year-old man from Mogadore, Mogadore, Ohio. 77-year-old dude, angry, sending poop everywhere.
Regular as hell.
So also, I want to point out, he did this, I want to point out that he did... a court mediator is an interesting position for someone to have as a background and make this decision, because a court mediator is all about finding reasonable agreements between two opposing parties. So I think maybe our pal Richard has been saving up some frustration for a while. This is not typical court mediator behavior, we should say.
Yeah. He's got it in a bucket right next to the toilet.
Don't they usually say, too, like if a mediator is successful at doing their job, then neither parties are particularly happy?
True. It's kind of a it's kind of a King Solomon argument at times, right? Like no one should walk away feeling like they've 100% knocked it out, because then it's not a compromise or negotiation. But so Matt, okay, we've established that this guy did it. Like you said, it's a very important point. You leave DNA charged when you mail poop, right? He's charged but not convicted. But it's not going to be like, it's not going to take a ton of forensic science to verify to verify who's playing Santa with the caca here.
Yeah. Because think about it. Even if it was maybe an animal that Richard owns, they could trace that back to the animal, get a DNA sample, and then, oh, there you go. Bob's your uncle? I don't know how it works. It was the right.
That's the
one. So he's charged with sending, quote, injurious articles as non-mailable, violating a federal law that prohibits mailing certain things, including hazardous materials. And that's according to court records. The thing that he is charged with, this specific thing, is a misdemeanor, but it carries a maximum prison sentence of a year and a $100,000 fine.
That is an expensive poop trip.